we need to talk about why each wrestler was released during the November firings. While I can't break this down and do a 10-minute video for each individual explaining why they were fired, I do have plenty of information as to what happened, how we got to the point of people actually being fired, and what's going on with this whole fired for being unvaccinated thing. I want to share that without clickbait or hyperbole. So hi everyone, I'm Tom Colohue and I cover wrestling both independently on YouTube and Twitch where you're watching now, and for PW Torch with Wade Keller. This video is all about telling you what happened in as much detail as we can so that we all know more about the inner workings of the WWE and why they have been firing so many people. If you enjoy content like this, be sure to thumbs up and subscribe because we do daily wrestling news videos. I have a lot of extra detail on a number of wrestlers. Eva Marie, Scarlett, Nia Jax, Keith Lee, Mia Yim, Karrion Kross, B-Fab and Ember Moon are all people that I can talk about with a little bit of exclusive backstage stuff today. There are a lot of other wrestlers recently that I don't have that much information about just yet, so keep an eye on the channel for future videos. For now though, I'll just say that in the WWE, Nick Khan has overseen a dramatic overhaul of the entire company structure. With that, and using his tried and tested cost-benefit analysis system, Khan has prepared list after list after list, usually in and around the time of earnings calls, and then released the talent on those lists. Some names usually survive due to other members of management, including at times Vince McMahon himself. This time around, the WWE essentially mopped up the ones whom had gotten away previously. I want to start by talking about Eva Marie. She was only recently brought back into the company, but at no point was her position safe. And I mean, week in and week out, she was not safe. We haven't seen any sort of reaction from Eva Marie online as of yet, though a cute tweet advertising her movie career did go live. Eva's push had come to an end, and the WWE was simply not happy with either what she delivered or the crowd reactions to her. The whole thing is viewed as a colossal failure, and that's me being polite. Eva Marie will likely return to movies and fitness, and her time in the WWE will be quickly forgotten about. Like her or not, she's a pro. And I have a video on the YouTube channel around 2 weeks ago about exactly what was going to happen with Eva Marie when her push came to an end. Speaking about Scarlett. Scarlett is one of many wrestlers whose names have come up on the list of people who either aren't vaccinated or simply refused to get vaccinated. Scarlett and Karrion Kross have both been trying to talk to the WWE into letting her onto the main roster anyway, but they were unsuccessful. A number of wrestlers weren't comfortable with the idea of her being on the main roster, knowing her position, and this was also the case in NXT. She was not brought to the WWE with the intention of having her wrestle, which sounds ridiculous when I hear myself say it. But basically, the WWE just didn't see much value in her considering that position. Here's a little bit of exclusive news for you. Nia Jax has made this particular list before, but she had been taken off due to future potential. I can confirm that Nia Jax had been away, taking a mental health break, and had requested an extension, but by that point, the WWE had already made their decision. She is another one whose name has come up as regards vaccination status. As one of the higher paid women in the WWE, Nick Khan simply refused to let her slip through this time around, and he ended up putting her quite firmly on the list and insisting that it was time. Keith Lee, and more specifically Mia Yim, were already on release lists also, but the WWE held back so as not to release someone out of action due to a heart condition. Now that Keith Lee has returned and he's been able to rebuild some of his stamina, the WWE felt confident that it wouldn't look too bad on them to release someone who was recovering from a heart condition. Keith Lee isn't even paid that much, but the WWE's plan up until now was for him to take it easy and rebuild his stamina, and I have videos to that effect on this YouTube as well. This is a sign that they have simply lost patience. There was never a plan to push him to the moon, as had previously been reported. I think given that these reports came from the same people who reported that Zelina Vega would get a big push right before she got fired, there were always going to be question marks raised about that. And honestly, we need to talk about those particular journalists who think they can get away with these reports. For Keith Lee, his implied push was entirely because Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre both chose to work with him. He was there purely as a spoiler to keep Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre separate so that they could continue a feud for many, many months. When it comes to Keith Lee, Vince McMahon was never convinced, or even, apparently, particularly interested. Karrion Kross is the very definition of the WWE dooming one of its characters. It literally ensured his release via really bad booking. Kross apparently even saw this coming when they first pitched the character change, but he continued regardless, doing as he was told by the company. The moment at which I felt confident his time in the WWE was coming to an end is when he started being a clone of Aleister Black before he was released. Kross has been open about the fact that he hated the helmet. In fact, he hated the impending redesign even more. Have we considered that WWE talent are claiming to be behind their own character changes because of pressure from management and talent relations? How many wrestlers have said recently, in the face of a character that wasn't popular, yeah, it's my character, you should like it. The WWE makes its own choices there. I can't remember who initially reported that, for example, the Bearcat was Keith Lee's idea. I certainly can't find an article anymore on it. B-Fab's release was simply because people on the creative team didn't believe that she would make it to the top level. It feels ridiculous to say that when you see how Hit Row are positioned to be a huge factor on SmackDown, and yet here we are. Creative pitches all involved her just sort of being there while Hit Row did their thing. The decision was made to cut her based on this. Her very brief time on SmackDown has still, infuriatingly, added 60 extra days to her non-compete clause because she signed her main roster contract literally 2 weeks ago. Literally 2 weeks ago, she signed a main roster contract. It changed her wage significantly, and it changed her from 30-day non-compete to 90 days. So she now has to sit on the sidelines for an extra 60 days because of 10 to 12 days actually on the main roster. Finally, Ember Moon is a very confusing one right now. I cannot get a clear answer on whether she currently has a WWE contract and will just have a 90-day non-compete, or an NXT contract of only 30. Either way, the company actually decided months ago that she had done everything that she could, and with no intention to call her back up, no interest to call her back up from Ember Moon herself, and no interest in using her in NXT, she was cut. This spells bad things for a number of NXT women on the cusp, including Dakota Kai. Essentially, the WWE believes that right now, after these cuts, they have enough women on their roster, and they won't look to hire many more unless more people are released. There will be more information that comes out in the next few weeks, so make sure to hit subscribe if you want to know what's actually going on here on the Tom Colohue YouTube channels. I really hope all of these wrestlers find work soon, and that we're able to see them all wrestle again soon. In the meantime, that's the news, and that is why wrestlers are continuing to be released and fired from the WWE.